Ladies and gentlemen, there is something about Kashmir and cricket matches. How many times have we heard of reports where Pakistan's victory has been cheered and India's defeat has been celebrated? Often enough, right? Is it wrong? Of course, there is something terribly twisted if you're celebrating the defeat of your own country, even if it is just a cricket match. But is it a crime? Is it sedition? Is it terrorism? That is a question that is once again being asked after the arrest of 7 students of the Sher-e-Kashmir University in Gandharbal. Here is the backstory, and it goes back to November 19th, the day India lost the World Cup final to Australia. There was heartbreak across the country, but in Gandharbal, something ugly was at play. A group of students from Kashmir celebrated the Australian win and raised pro-Pakistan slogans. Non-local students complained that the Kashmiri students abused and targeted them for supporting India. The matter didn't reach the Vice-Chancellor. Instead, it straight reached the police after a student from Punjab filed a complaint. The police reached the campus and arrested 7 students under the draconian UAPA Act. It's been 8 days and the 7 fourth-year students continue to be in jail. The matter, of course, has become political. But before we come to that, let's quickly understand what the UAPA is and why it is called draconian. UAPA is an act that is usually reserved for terrorists, but in the last couple of years, it has been used against students, against journalists, against activists as well. The UAPA allows the police to search, seize, and arrest anyone without a warrant. Police can keep anyone for 30 days in police custody and 180 days in court detention without even a charge sheet. Back to Kashmir. The Students' Union of Kashmir wrote to the LG and the Home Minister of the country, Amit Shah, and urged them to drop UAPA charges against the students because it would ruin the future of these students and result in their quote-unquote career assassination. The student body, on its part, also condemned the act of the students, saying it cannot be justified. The politicians, though, did what they always do, fan the flames. Here is Bhaibhuva Mufti, who went on to compare what happened in Gandharbal with what is happening in Gaza.
UAPA ऐसा कानून है जो टेररिस्ट के खिलाफ लागू होना चाहिए. आप जर्नलिस्ट के खिलाफ उसको लगाते हो. अभी कितने सालों के बाद बेचारा फहाद बाहर आ गया. आप ह्यूमन राइट्स एक्टिविस्ट खुरम पर भी उसके लिए खिलाफ इस्तेमाल करते हो. आप अब स्टूडेंट्स के खिलाफ भी इस्तेमाल करते हो जिनका आप करियर बर्बाद करना चाहते हो. अगर आपको जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों पे भरोसा ही नहीं है, आप वो किस टीम के लिए वो चेयर करते हैं, किस टीम के लिए वो अपना जो है खुशी का एहसास का इजहार करते हैं, आप उसके लिए उनको यूएपी जैसा काला कानून, इतना सख्त कानून, उनकी जिंदगी बर्बाद करना चाहते हो. आपको भरोसा ही नहीं है.
Now, what came next was a very strongly worded rebuttal from the Jammu and Kashmir police. They said the arrest was not merely because pro-Pak slogans were made, it was also because those who didn't raise pro-Pak slogans were intimidated. The police said it is also about normalizing an abnormal that everybody hates India openly. The police said it's not about freedom of expression or dissent. It is about terrorizing those who nourish pro-India feelings. Let me go straight across to my guests who are joining us this evening for a very quick debate. Sanjay Hegde is a senior advocate joining us on the broadcast. Syed Fazal Kashani is a student leader with us on the show. Tushar Gupta is a senior editor at Swaraj, and Amit Raina is an activist. Sanjay Hegde, I'm coming to you first because there is much debate about an act like the UAPA being slapped against students for raising pro-Pakistan slogans at the Sher-e-Kashmir University campus. The police is saying, while you question us, please understand that this was not merely about a bunch of students raising pro-Pakistan slogans, but it was about normalizing what is abnormal and terrorizing people who nourish pro-India sentiment. How do you react to that?
Well, the Jammu and Kashmir police seem to have taken upon themselves to decide what is normal, what is not normal. They recently came out with a statement advising the press what to do. Their actions against a reporter of Kashmir Times was recently struck down by the Kashmir High Court after over 600 days. The point is, at the end of the day, students are entitled as much as any other Indian citizen to freedom of speech. You may have a cricket team that you like, you may have a cricket team that you dislike. Tomorrow, let's assume that Kashmir had an IPL team. Can you say that somebody who said that the Gujarat IPL team losing was a good thing, that would be anti-national? Come on. At the end of the day, it is a game of cricket. People are as entitled to cheer anyone, they're as entitled to jeer anyone. That is not for the Kashmir police to decide. And most importantly, it certainly is not a matter for the UAPA. The police know that the essence of tyranny is the ability to use a harsh law selectively on those whom they do not like. At the end of the day, if courts do not step in immediately to stop this kind of nonsense, the matter has to travel through various levels of the court system. Though those who have been arrested, those students who have been arrested, will lose a major part of their youth. And that is possibly what the Kashmir police thinks is peace. The peace of the silenced.
Mr. Hegde, can I just then read out to you what the Kashmir police has said, and maybe you can comment on it. They say this abnormal and false thing is practiced mostly on the back of separatist and terrorist networks. In other words, the aim is not airing personal preferences of a particular sporting team. It is not about dissent or freedom of expression. It is about terrorizing others who may be nourishing pro-India feelings or anti-Pakistan feelings or disagreeing. There were written complaints to evidence this. Essentially, Sanjay Hegde, I'm again asking you, when the Kashmir police says it's not about pro-Pakistan slogans, it's about terrorizing those who didn't agree with you. That is where the UAPA had to be slipped in.
The point is that those who wanted to celebrate were not prevented from celebrating, right? But there was nothing to celebrate on that particular day. When we lost, when India lost to Australia, there was nothing for people who supported India to celebrate. But those feelings of loss sometimes are overcompensated by taking it out on somebody else. Now that is where the Kashmir police seem to have joined hands and said, okay, so-and-so says that you were celebrating India's loss. Fine, we'll show you, we'll put you in prison and we'll use the UAPA. These are Indians. These are not people from beyond the border. You are doing this to send a message. And quite frankly, a few slogans between students is no terrorism. But when the police invoke the UAPA, it's not only the students, it's their families, it's people around them who are equally terrorized. That you can very easily be at the end of an accusation like this.
Tushar Gupta, would you want to come in here and respond? That the police overreacted, and B, they probably overreacted because they wanted to send a message.
Of course, Shreya, they wanted to send a message and it's sending the right message across. India and Australia were playing the World Cup final. India lost, Australia won. How does Jive Pakistan fit into the scheme of things? Why were these students saying Jive Pakistan? Don't they understand what's going on in Kashmir? Don't they understand the terrorism that is ushered in Kashmir, sponsored by the ISI? Don't they understand the infiltration that is attempted every day at the LOC, which leads to the martyrdom of our soldiers? One can understand supporting the Australian team. Mr. Hegde perhaps doesn't use Twitter that much, but every day you have people being critical of one or the other IPL team. People are critical about their players also, the Indian cricket team also. None of it has qualifies as anti-national. But why would you cheer Pakistan in a game where they have no stake? How is the loss of India equivalent to Jive Pakistan? What were the students thinking? And Bhaibhuva Mufti says we are worried about the future of the students. What will they do? Their jobs are at stake. Their careers are at stake. Don't these students believe in the idea of India? Because frankly, by the sloganeering they're opting for, it doesn't. Look, the dynamics of Kashmir are such that the youngsters who are sick and tired of the violence, the state politics that has brought them nothing but destitution, they want to look ahead. They want to look to the future. They want to celebrate the idea of India as it is. They want to enjoy the freedoms that the Indian Constitution guarantees. But there is also a section of people who terrorizes such thinkers, such independent individual minds. And that is what happened in this case. People want to support Australia, they're allowed to.
But Tushar
People
Gupta,
want to be critical of the Indian cricket team, they're allowed.
Tushar Gupta, how is Jive Pakistan? But Tushar Gupta, how is Jive Pakistan an act of terrorism? You've slapped UAPA on them, for heaven's sake. Arrest them, all right. But to charge them under the draconian UAPA?
Look, at the
end, how
are
they terrorists?
No, of course, they're not terrorists. They've not picked up arms against the state. Of course, they're not terrorists. A terrorist is someone who picks up arms against the state. But then the Kashmir police does not also want to encourage this as the new abnormal. When you had the stone pelters, they were also not qualified as terrorists back in the day, but they were picking up stones against. And the same argument was made. Look, they are not terrorists. They are just children. They are just trying to, make 500 or 700 rupees by pelting stones on the Indian army. Again, the investigation has to be carried on. The UAPA has to be validated by the courts at the end of the day. The police alone cannot do that. But are they terrorizing other pro-Indian minds? That is the important question. And if they are as good as terrorists.
Fact is that state governments and police forces across this country very happily have misused UAPA to an extent where the Supreme Court has started striking down arrests under the UAPA. Even that has started happening. I don't want to go into the instances because the show will end by then. But Syed Fazal Kashnani, the point is that these weren't children. These were fourth-year students. What were they even thinking?
Well, Shreya, let me put facts straight, especially to Mr. Tushar, who was saying that Jive Pakistan slogans have been raised. It's not, no slogans were raised. Okay, the UAPA, they were booked under UAPA because there was a complaint of threatening by few students who were who had complaint against these kids. So, first of all, supporting an Australian team for their win is not an anti-national activity. I mean, you have hundreds of people who were celebrating on the stadium when Australia won the match. Nobody was booked under UAPA. So it is not about them being labeled as a terrorist. And do you understand the consequences these charges will have on the future of these kids, of the families of these children? I mean, police has clearly misused UAPA, and such incidents where they have threatened the other students who were not happy with Australia's win, we condemn it. But such situations, such incidents can be resolved at university level also. I mean, booking them under UAPA is completely not justified. And somebody saying that they will turn into terrorists, I mean, this is nonsense. This is illogical. You cannot book students for celebrating a win.
Syed Kashnani,
yes,
here's the fact.
threatened.
I'm just... Okay. No. You can't... you can't, here's what the FIR says. Look, this is your word against my word. This is what is in the FIR against, what you are saying. But the fact is that the FIR says that not only was Australia's win celebrated, which is fine, what also happened is that pro-Pakistan slogans were raised. That's something that is in the FIR. I'm not making this up. And
But
the problem
does that
is
qualify?
not
But
raising
does that
pro-Pakistan
qualify?
slogans. The problem is threatening people who didn't do so, threatening students who possibly objected to it. That's not okay.
How many cases on daily basis in India do we see threatening? Like how many threatening cases do we see in India? I mean, is everybody booked under UAPA? When it comes to Kashmir, why is it like so easy to impose UAPA on the students? And secondly, the FIR also says that this
It's
is
not
being
just
done on the on directions of the separatist and terrorist organizations. It is the first question to the police department itself. That huge claims are made that a lot has changed after 2019. So why the crackdown is not made on the separatists? Why the students? I mean, you don't want to question the administration, you don't want to question the department, but when it comes to students, I mean, you just book them under UAPA. It doesn't make any sense.
Amit Raina, Faisal is saying it simply doesn't make sense for these students to be, booked under an anti-terror act. How are they terrorists?
1983,
Was it
India
an extreme reaction?
1983, India plays against West Indies at Srinagar. The Indian team is booed and the West Indies cheered. And subsequently, the people who booed Indian team and cheered West Indies turned out to be the first batch of Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front, which led to the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits, the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits, and deaths of thousands of people in Kashmir. One needs to understand that if you celebrate the victory of an opponent team against your national team, it's an act of separatism. There are no two ways about it. And in Kashmir, where the peace is fragile, where thousands of people have been, innocent people have been killed, thousands of soldiers have attained martyrdom to get to the peace that we see today. Any attempt to disrupt this peace, the progress of peace, needs to be dealt upon deftly. And I think police has the right to go and act against people who believe that their act of separatism will go unnoticed. Any act which emboldens separatism in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in Kashmir Valley, needs to be acted upon deftly. And I think the strongest and strictest punishment needs to be taken against such people, because we cannot lose more people. We cannot again allow thousands of people to be killed for nonsense of Jive Pakistan, India, Murdabad, cheering about Pakistan. Remember, Shreya, after 1983, when West Indies was cheered and India was booed, every time India played a match, the Hindu homes in Kashmir were attacked. Whether India won the match or they lost the match, they were attacked with stones, rained with stones, attacked with petrol bombs, and every act of that which was not acted against by the police emboldened the separatism, leading to what we have seen in Kashmir for the last 35 years. So I think you need to nip the bud at right now before it again goes and takes the ugly, the shape of an ugly snake, which we have seen for the last 35 years.
Fazal, would you want to respond to that? That what happened at the Sher-e-Kashmir University campus in Gandharbal was an act of, a secession. This was separatist feelings that were being fanned and displayed.
Mr. Amit Raina just mentioned that if you are not supporting the national team, I mean the Indian team, and you are supporting the opponent, it is an act of terrorism. I want to ask him, in front of Narendra Modi in the stadium, there were hundreds of people celebrating Australia's win. How many were booked? How many were booked under UAPA, Mr. Amit Raina?
But none of them, were raising pro-Pakistan slogans, na? But how many of them were raising pro-Pakistan slogans? No one, na? I mean, there's something terrible. Fazal, while I agree with you that UAPA is not the act you should have slapped on these students, I also do believe that there is something terribly twisted when you celebrate the loss of your own nation.
No.
Terribly twisted.
What I'm saying is the threatening that was given to the students who were supporting India and the pro-Pakistani slogans that were raised. We condemn it. It should not have happened. And such incidents can be dealt without using UAPA as well. I mean, why is it so easy to book the students under UAPA? I mean, do you know the consequences on the families, on the public in general? You cannot justify UAPA by any means which has been which under which the students were booked. You need to understand, we have requested the governor, we had requested the home minister to not to book the students under UAPA. Such incidents can be done in university, at university level, or even at police level. But UAPA is not justified at all.
Okay, Tushar Gupta, then, the Kashmir students' body has written to the Home Minister of the country. They have written also to the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir to say, look, drop these UAPA charges. We are not, at all justifying what happened in the Gandharbal campus, but please drop UAPA because it will ruin the future of these 7 students. Is that something that the government of India should do, show some magnanimity here?
Well, that's for the government to decide. I think a lot will be factored in. But that's for the government to decide. But Shreya, at the end of the day, I was hearing the student leaders speak. I'm sorry, but anyone raising pro-Pakistan slogans should think about the consequences of their future, of their life, on their education, on their overall professional careers before thinking what the government should do or not do. I mean, what were you thinking raising pro-Pakistan slogans? Of course, it's twisted to celebrate the Indian defeat, but it's far more twisted to celebrate Pakistan just when India is at its lowest moment. Those 1.4 billion people are at their lowest. And the student leader needs to be reminded that in that stadium that day, there was not one Indian who was celebrating the victory of Australia. There was not one single Indian. And across India, there was no well-meaning Indian who was cheering for Pakistan just because India had lost. So now if you want to ask about the consequences on the life of those students, I must help you recall that those students should have understood the consequences of cheering for Pakistan at that point in Kashmir.
Okay, my final question is to the lawyer on the panel, Sanjay Hegde. Sanjay Hegde, the Jammu and Kashmir Police has, as you know, put out a strong rebuttal. They also say the second aspect that everyone needs to understand is that the application of the right law has been made. Section 13 of UAPA is about inciting, advocating, and encouraging separatist ideology. It is not about planning, aiding, and executing actual terror acts. It classifies such actions as unlawful. In contrast to other Act, it is a softer provision of the Act, Sanjay Hegde. Essentially saying that yes, this is the UAPA, but this is not, Section 13 is not UAPA in its full force. Therefore, while we have applied the Anti-Terror Act, we have actually gone soft on these students. And please don't tell us that this is not about separatist tendencies, because it very much is.
Well, firstly, UAPA itself is under severe criticism as being overbroad. What this kind of interpretation is straight out of 1984 George Orwell thought crime. Even if you think in a particular way, that is a crime. Now, you ask the question, Jive Jive Pakistan, what's wrong with that? And saying that at that stage in Kashmir, that itself, they say the answer is context. Let me tell you that the Supreme Court refused to interfere in sedition charges lodged against 2 Sikhs who shouted slogans the day that Indira Gandhi was assassinated. These tough laws are meant for particular tough situations. If you use them in a routine manner, if you say that you are going to use a ton of dynamite to handle a few flies, then the very existence of those laws gets threatened. We have seen it happen in Tada. We have seen it happen with Pota. Policemen, you give the policemen overbroad laws and no questioning about what they do. This is what happens. And at the end of the day, those laws have to be withdrawn. People may keep on going in to say anything to defend it, but what is the defense that you're pointing out? Oh, we've put in UAPA light. UAPA light or UAPA full. The problem is that under Section 43, you cannot get bail. Bail is very difficult to get. The trial never commences. And when the trial finally goes down its weary way, most people end up acquitted. You can't give them back their lives. This is where a wise administration knows when to draw the line, when to rein in its policemen. And one last thing, I heard somebody say that, in 1983 that happened, and then the JKLF came in. No, sir, the JKLF came in much before that. Makbul Butt happened much before 1983. Where after 1983, there were similar kind of rigged elections in Kashmir, which then led to Sheikh Salahuddin going across the border. All these, if you are unwise with your young, you will get more acts of violence, which you will end up encouraging, and more people will be pushed across the border. That is not what we need.
All right, we'll leave it there for the moment, Sanjay Hegde, and if we start discussing what the conviction rate under UAPAs and what the pendency under UAPAs, that's a separate debate altogether. That's a separate form of terrorism altogether. We'll leave it there for the moment, Sanjay Hegde. Thank you very much. Syed Fazal, thank you very much. Tushar Gupta, good to have you on the show. And Amit Raina, good to have you on the show as well. On that note, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. There's much more on the other side. Do stay with us.